views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And TGIF. It's Friday, and it's the Friday after the completion of the Republican National Convention, and next week we've got to look forward to the Democratic National Convention.
That's true, and I'm sure that the same crap will happen. But before we get into the news and the information that's important, we have a kind of a public service announcement. Project Homeless Connect announced that they're having a one-day, one-stop event to connect the homeless and people in danger of homelessness and the entire community in need of services. That event will be held Friday, August 5th, 2 weeks from today, at Bristol Community College in the Commonwealth College Center, that's Building G, 777 Ellsbury Street in Fall River. They're going to be providing dental care education, food, housing opportunities, hygiene products, substance abuse treatment, entitlement benefit programs, that's Mass Health, food stamps, whatnot. RMV identification cards. The registry will be providing those cards for those of you that don't have identification. Legal advice and medical health services. If you need transportation to this event, the CDA office on the 4th floor of Government Center will be providing bus passes for this event. You can call CDA at 508-679-0131. That's 508-679-0131. Or just stop in at the CDA office. I'm sure Mike Dion's going to love me for making this message.
Well, it's something that has to be done. I mean,
Yep.
in a nation with the kind of wealth we have, to have the problems we do with these things is just ridiculous.
You know, the problem I have is we have so many veterans which are just homeless that it's disgusting.
Yeah.
But, before we get into a lot of this stuff, I wanted to bring something up because we spoke about it at a show or two ago. I want to talk about 3 states: North Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas.
Wait a minute, you better stick Indiana in there too.
And Indiana, okay.
In Indiana, because it's pretty telling about Indiana too. The fact that they've reduced their taxes for 4 consecutive years. They've had tremendous increases in what they've given to education and health care,
right,
while reducing taxes, and their economy is absolutely booming again, because guess what? They did the magic formula. They gave people money to spend. Amazing. By not taxing them to death. And welcome to Taxachusetts.
That's right. That was our old name, and we're right back there. But North Carolina, these are some of their claims to fame. They have the largest military installation in the world, and they're the fastest growing state economy. Okay? That's a good reputation to have. Yeah. Tennessee. I know you don't like Tennessee for another reason, Chip, and I don't blame you. But they classify themselves as the volunteer state. No state income tax. Imagine that. The state budget has a surplus. They have a balanced budget. Top 5th in the country in jobs growth. Number 1 in auto manufacturing. Republican governor, 2 Republican U.S. senators, 7 Republican congressmen, 2/3 of the Republican majority in the House and the Senate, and they're a pro-life state. Texas, greatest job-creating state in the country, 12th largest economy on the planet. No Democrat has held statewide office since 1992. I'm not making this whether this is Democrats or Republican or anything else, but when you start looking at some of these states that are doing so well, you have to look at the reasons why.
Yeah.
Okay? They have some of the best jobs. They're business friendly. They're no taxes on state income tax, and they have a surplus. And people have money to spend. Didn't we talk about that a couple of times, Chip?
We've been talking about it ad nauseum, but let me point out about these things. One of the things that we have to really highlight, because as far as I'm concerned, in my opinion, the reason that these states are doing so well, number one, North Carolina's always had the largest military installation. Right. I served at that military installation. They have numerous military installations down there. Not only Fort Bragg, and they have Marine bases. They have North Carolina is known for its military presence. But when you talked about Tennessee, and you talked about Republicans, and and then the pro-life. There are people who are pro-choice, and that shouldn't be a criteria for economics. That's a personal issue.
That's right.
The thing that all these states have in common is very, very simple. And it just so happens that most Republicans are small government people now by nature. They're not because they have, they may differ on social issues. You might have some social moderates and social conservatives. But the bottom line for us here in Massachusetts, and here especially in Fall River, with a special shout out to Pay Attention City Council, is that all these states make conscious efforts to control spending and keep taxes as low as possible. And Tennessee, CJ said I didn't like Tennessee. It's not I dislike Tennessee. One of the reasons I have a problem is Tennessee. I'm obviously an animal lover, and Tennessee virtually has all kill shelters. They don't try to place animals. They basically kill them almost immediately. As a matter of fact, I adopted a dog from Tennessee that was scheduled to be put down through no fault of her own as a pup, and
she's an amazing dog.
It bothers me that in this day and age we can't, as Gandhi said, a society is judged on how it treats its elderly and its animals.
Well, Westport isn't doing too good then.
And we don't treat animals very well in this society, for the most part. And I think that's another issue. But let's get back to the stuff. Government. These states about small government and low taxes. And guess what? They didn't have to rebrand. They didn't have to go up and yell to USA, "You're a liar. This city isn't a mess." No, they've got jobs. They've got an economy. They've got people that spend money. Why? Because they have money. The government doesn't turn around. I think Indiana cut their state workforce by a third over the last 4 years. They eliminated all the nice BS jobs that politicians tend to create over the years, while the citizens just go, "Oh, what can you do?" Well, you can vote people out. I don't care if they're a Republican or a Democrat.
That's right.
Unless they're a fiscal conservative, unless they understand that the last thing they should do, not the first thing, is tax the people, is take money out of the consumer's pocket. Then you are successful. It's not magic. It's the truth, whether you like it or not. This state has always been a mess because we've always taxed. New York and Massachusetts perennially are the two highest taxing states in the United States. And this is why. Oh, we've been fortunate. We've got a lot of good schools. We've got some high tech here. But those businesses get write-offs. But the people in this state get trampled on. And what really, really upsets me is when I see people saying, "Oh, well, it's because of our legislative delegation. They fight for us." No, they don't. They only do it when when it's convenient. Our legislative delegation backed the removal of the health care from collective bargaining to screw people out of their health care. They're not gonna fight for a tax holiday because they're gonna spend too much money. They're gonna override the governor's veto when he's trying to save money. So, you know, let's look at things objectively. Let's look at things about the way they are. The reality is, they don't give two craps about the taxpayer in his state on the state level or on the local level. And now we see what, you know, our council continues to create these jobs that Indiana and Tennessee, you don't find these jobs. You know, we don't have a guy following the mayor around with his little clipboard and to make press releases for $52,000 or an imminent pay raise. It doesn't live in the city. We don't have people with you know, that separate departments so we can have more higher paid department heads. This is what's happening. We have to pay attention and we have to eliminate it. You want this city to get better? What have we been saying since the opening of this show 4 years ago? We said two things. Follow the money and stop taxing everybody to death. You know, and this is the problem, because what do we get for it? I don't know if we're ready to move on, but
Yeah, we are.
for nearly 3 years, 200 solar panels.
That's where I was
sat
going.
Unused on the top of Morton Middle School.
And they want to hire a company to come in and put in new panels.
And guess who's paying for that? We are. We're gonna pay. Okay, screw the tech. Where's our game show?
Oh, wow, you want the game show?
This is another case of.
Oh, definitely.
Where is it?
We're going to bring it up
It's coming
now.
up. Here it is. Come on, Vanna.
Screw you, taxpayer!
There we go. Screw you, taxpayer. 200 solar panels that were paid for have sat unused and not even connected, right? And National Grid sent a letter to the city with an executable contract to have it done, and years ago. So what I'm asking
Not
is,
that many, 2013.
and yeah, not that many, but still, 3 years.
That was under the Flanagan administration.
But and of course, you mean the law department that didn't know when their brief was due, when you pulled it up in 13 seconds on your phone,
Yeah.
and everybody in the chamber knew when it was due except them. You know, the judge wrote it in the order. The only criteria for knowing when that brief was due is the ability to read English, and obviously our law department didn't have that. So the same law department didn't execute the agreement, and now we have a city councilor, and I spoke to him last night.
Yep.
That's proposing that we get all new panels, and
Right.
I said to him basically straight, you know, screw you, city councilor, because I'm tired of being screwed as a taxpayer, because you know something. These panels have been up there, they're unused. Oh, they're not that good. Well, they were good enough to purchase in the first place, and before I allow them to spend my tax dollars, because I will have I will create an organization to vote out any city councilor who wants me to pay a second time for solar panels. And not only that, the fact is that, look at solar panels. There's a lot of talk out there in the industry about solar panels weakening the integrity of roofs. And now we're going to remove these and reinstall them. They're not going to install them in the same place, and that could have a safety issue, because we know how city buildings are built. But here's my problem, and I'm going to say this to every city councilor that I meet. I'm not going to pay for more solar panels until somebody is held accountable for this. How many times, how many years are we going to allow people to act and be totally malfeasant, which is a crime, by the way, for a public official, without consequence, without any type of recourse? I'm probably saying it's because we know what's going to happen, but let's have a real investigation. The 22 windows, the fact that we didn't have a letter from anybody on Dominion. Now this, I want to know who the hell, after they put these panels up, couldn't sign an agreement with National Grid, write their name on a paper to have these things working. And who in the school department, who's in charge of buildings and grounds, and in the city, who's in charge of buildings and grounds.
That was Ken Pacheco at the time.
How can they not know that these solar panels were inoperative?
Well,
But you know what? You know what we're going to do? We're going to go, let's give them all a pay raise.
Right.
Because that's what government does. They don't do this in Tennessee. They don't do this in Indiana. They don't do this in Texas. These people will be held accountable. Government wants to keep the money in the taxpayers' pocket in those states, and that's why those states are thriving. Fall River is always going to be an economic toilet because all they ever do is take our money away while they spend it, and don't even spend it even semi-wisely. This is a travesty. This is a travesty.
Oh, no doubt.
I mean, every single person who walked in that school for the last 3 years was looking at solar panels that weren't even connected. And our city officials, what happened to the agreement? And we're going to get into something later on about the city and its inability to do anything right.
But you know, the thing is that...
Go ahead, CJ. Take it away.
You've been dancing around this. It was Councilor Mitchell. You didn't want to say his name, I will, or whatever the case may be. It was Councilor Mitchell who's proposing this. Now, these solar panels, according to him, are old and they're not good. But they're good enough to move to this Tansy school? Who's getting paid off? Who at Amoresco has an in with city government, with purchasing or with the whatever? Because guess what? Amoresco is the same company that put the Taj Mahal in.
That's
over
right.
at Government Center on the 6th floor.
Yeah, the palatial.
The palace.
The palatial tile and the palatial shower
that you
was
saw.
that I saw with the monogrammed.
That's right.
With the monogrammed towels.
Yes.
Probably from Matuk.
That's
that were about $1,000 a towel, but they were monogrammed. And I guess once that mayor left, he had to take his monogrammed towels with him because the initials don't fit.
But
but you're right, CJ. Look, they've been there for 3 years, which means they're about 3 or 4 years old. I mean, you're not going to tell me that these things are so obsolete. He said, in my conversations, I was told that they're really crap. Well, if they're really crap, why are we going to put them on another school? And why are we going to make holes in their roof and maybe, we don't know the structural integrity of these things and do it again? What? So that's always the government's. That's always.
But who said they were crap? Who said they were crap? Amoresco?
Yeah. Well,
of course they're going to say it's crap.
But they're going to use it on another school. So what are they going? So they're going to intentionally put in inferior product on another school. I mean, the whole thing is bullshit. We know it. It's political bull. Now they're going to start running around making excuses.
Right.
Because they got caught.
Right.
They got caught.
Which they always do, especially with us. But the sad part about this whole thing is they turn around and say, oh no, we thought we were at the renewable energy cap. That cap is 10 megawatts. That's a lot of energy. A lot of energy. Okay? We were at 7.1. So we still got 2.9.
Look, here come the excuses.
Oh yeah.
Did anybody say 3 years ago when they thought they were near the cap? Did anybody investigate it? Did anybody actually come out and tell the public, oh, by the way, public, we just put on 200 panels on the Morton Middle School that we can't use, and this is the reason why. And we're going to get the money back because, or we're going to fire the person who didn't take into the consideration the usage. But it was bullshit again, because that's all they ever do. All they ever do is make excuses. The treasurer forgot the money. We didn't know it was your money. We forgot. I don't know where the records are. Nobody knows who ordered the 200, the 22 windows. They stuck it in the mayor's office with him sitting at the desk that put in a new window, but nobody knew they were putting windows in. How long do they have to urinate on your heads, and they're going to convince you that it's raining? For God's sakes, this is enough is enough.
I know. And the worst part about all of this is that everyone's trying to film it. We've already paid for this. We didn't get reimbursed from the state. There was no reimbursement from the state. And then they come out after saying they got to put in new panels. They want to put solar panels over the parking lot, just like BCC did. Why? Because the governor came out and said last week, here at BCC that he stole the idea from BCC, because when he sees a good idea, he takes it elsewhere in the state. And the MBTA parking lots can all have solar panels on them now. Well, guess what? It costs money to do that. And it's got to pay for itself. And if it doesn't pay for itself, which nothing pays for itself in Fall River, you can't do it. You know, remember, this governor, our own senator, has come out and said, we want more charter schools. Why are they on the charter school bandwagon? Rebecca Cusack, listen to this, okay? Be very clear. Listen to it. People want charter schools because charter schools perform. They perform better than the public school system. Donald Trump said it very clearly. It is a place that just protects the administration. You don't care about the kids. And I know teachers that are good teachers, they really love the kids. But you don't represent the children. You don't represent the families. You represent your union. And you make sure that the administrators have a job. Well, the Fall River school system is the most bloated department that I've seen since the Fall River Housing Authority. And that's the epitome of bloating. And this is how it's getting bad in Fall River. We can't even recognize that we have solar panels on the top of a 3-year-old building that are not connected and is not generating any savings for the city. And you expect us to recognize the fact that you can't teach? Well, that was the easy thing to recognize.
Well, the thing is that, but it's the problem isn't realizing it's the problem is that what their solutions are. Their solutions are always to spend more money. And listen, when it comes to, look, I ran a union, and I know how difficult it is. The fact is that the problem with being a union official is that once you own them, you own them. And I've always said when we had some problems and problematic people and the city used to argue over us defending them, I used to make very clear, it's a statutory obligation for a union to defend its membership, regardless of whether they're good or bad. They have a legal duty and obligation to represent. And I always said the fact is that they had a probationary period, and it was the politicians and the administrators invariably that kept the dead wood on the job. They didn't terminate them during training. And the other problem with the school department is that nobody gets a job through testing. It's not like the police and fire departments. You have to take a test. And then you have to finish in the top 3 for every job. It's two times the number of vacancies plus 1. That's a civil service formula. You can't even be considered if you're way out of the running. So they have to take, and virtually we've seen over the last decade or so, almost everybody that goes to the school department's politically connected. And the problem is, once they're politically connected, they're also politically protected. So you can't get rid of them. I'm not the president of the union anymore. And I can tell you that I recommended termination for people during a probationary period who then became problems for the union. And they said, how can you protect anybody like that? Well, I had to. But guess what? When I walked in with the recommendation for termination and handed it to the fire chief, you know what he said? Get out of my office. You know who that is? That's the mayor's cousin's kid. That's so-and-so's kid. They're not going anywhere because I'll take too much heat. There's your problem. And they said it well. The problem is the protection of administrators and tenured teachers. The system has got to change. There is a mechanism for termination for civil service employees. It's Chapter 31, Sections 41 through 45. But they never use it because it requires due process. But that due process is doable. They have terminated people, but only on very rare instances when the people they wanted to terminate weren't politically connected and they didn't like them. So they used that as an excuse. You always hear you can't get rid of somebody who's tenured or who is civil service. That's an absolute lie. That is an absolute lie. You can get rid of them if you got enough balls to bring them up, build a case, and then you can throw them out the door.
Well, with that, I think we're going to take you off onto your next tirade. The misappropriation of employee money by the city of Fall River.
Well,
again, we're going to steal from the hardworking taxpayer.
Well, again, yeah, here we go again. Well, you know, I gotta get. We got the health care. We got the record. I mean, you know, the solar panels are only up there 3 years, you know, without being addressed. This issue goes back to 91 when we had Ernst & Young audit them, and they did the same thing. They commingled money, they lost money, they didn't know where money was, and they assured the arbitrator back in 91 that this would never happen again. Well, it's 2016, and at yesterday's IAC meeting, we all received a copy of a letter from the City Auditor's Department, and it says, the general fund needs to reimburse the employee trust fund and employer trust fund to cover variances, that's a nice word for it, that have been carried over from prior years. Based on this, I am requesting a $44,000 from the general fund to the employee trust fund, and then it goes on about the employer trust fund. Well, these variances, well, then I asked the question that nobody had an answer to. What the hell is employee money doing anywhere but the employee trust fund when there's a statutory requirement that the only place that employee funds are supposed to be is in a segregated employee trust fund, Chapter 32B, Section 3A. And nobody had an answer. It was like, well, the treasurer said, well, I'm not asking that. What's so hard about complying with the law that says our money is supposed to be in our account, not in your account, not in the general fund? And they'll say, oh, your money wasn't in the general fund, but we've got to take money out of the general fund to supplement it. Well, where was the original money? Where did it go? What did you spend it on? And it was employee money. That money. Then he said, oh, that's grant money. Bullshit. I don't care if it's a grant. It's not grant money. If it's going into the employee trust fund, it means it was money that those employees paid for their health care premium. Doesn't matter who pays their salary. Once it's given to them, it's their money, and when the 25% for that health care is taken out, it's supposed to go into a trust fund. I don't know what's so damn difficult about when they take it out of everybody's paycheck, it could go directly into the employee trust fund, or if not, there should be a segregated employee transitional fund that it goes into. The arbitrator told you in 1991, you pack of fools, that you can't commingle employee money with city money. It's not your money. That money comes out of my retirement check. It came out of my paycheck in 91. And you stole it. You mishandled it. You spent it on paint and sheetrock. Everything you did was illegal.
No, I think it's snow removal this time.
Yeah, well, you know, but that's the problem. The problem is, look, whether it's 22 windows, whether it's 200 solar panels, or whether it, again, is employee money, this city has proven, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it doesn't have a damn clue on how to handle money. It doesn't know where anything is. All they do is grab money, pay the bills as they come in, and look for more. Rob Peter to pay Paul. Stay angry and sign a damn petition for the forensic audit. Let's get those petitions out there, and let's get a damn audit of this city.
We need one. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend, and maybe you'll be seen over at Pleasant Palace or Pleasant Party.